Hello and welcome to the Electrical Contractor webinar site. My name is John Maisel. I'm the publisher of Electrical Contractor Media. We're excited about today's webinar. It's being hosted by Electrical Contractor, but being sponsored by both Viewpoint Software and MCI. A little bit of protocol. The session will last for 1 hour. There will be roughly 40-45 minutes of presentation from our presenters, and a few minutes left for Q&A depending on time. Those of you who are on video can post questions during the program on your screen. There'll be a box there. Today's title is How to Eliminate Chaos and Inefficiency in Your Service Business. All right, EC, actually, service and maintenance is a viable source of income, not only in times of economic stress, but as an ongoing stream during times of growth. The key to a successful service business is order and efficiency. Both Viewpoint and MSI have a long history of helping advertisers or helping achieve the right level of people, processes, and technology. Our presenters today are Scott Hegnerus from Viewpoint, who is a product manager. He's been with them for over 15 years, and he's experienced in providing innovative solutions to the construction industry in general. Our other presenter is Ray Thomas, who's Vice President of Sales at MSI, and they are a leading provider of field work and field workforce automation software. Ray arrived at MSI in 2012 as a Director of Business Development. He's been instrumental in working in sales and growth, building key relationships with customers and particularly with the electrical contractor community. I will turn it over to Scott and Ray.
Thanks, John. This is Ray Thomas, and in a little bit we'll hear from Scott Hegnerus from Viewpoint. Thanks for everyone for joining today. We know that you've all got a lot on your plates and businesses to run and jobs to do, so we appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to join us for this webinar. As John said, we'll try to keep the content to 45 minutes and have time at the end for Q&A. And if you do have questions, feel free to use the Q&A tool in WebEx. There should be a button that says Q&A or a panel on the right side that says Q&A, and you can just type questions. And again, we'll look at saving those for the later part of today's session. We're going to run through some slides, and then we'll get to a demo at the end. But today's webinar agenda, again, we're going to learn how to control chaos and eliminate inefficiencies. So we're going to talk about a few different ways you can avoid the most common sources of inefficiency in a service business. We're going to talk about solving the most common service management problems. And we're going to talk about how technology can help with those things. So best practices and the value that they deliver. Real quick, we did want to give just a little bit of information on the two companies. So a little bit about MSI. We're a Viewpoint development partner. We've been in this space for over 18 years. We've got a lot of expertise in mobile and service operations. We've been developing mobile apps since the early 2000s. When the very first smartphones came out, and they were, big, and the battery only lasted a couple hours, and you could barely find connectivity. And so we help companies automate their field workforce. We kind of make the analogy that there's a big push for electronic medical records in the healthcare space. So just like there's companies helping healthcare providers go from paper to digital, we look at ourselves as helping field service or field workforces move from paper to digital. So our goal is help eliminate paper and help increase productivity across service organizations or companies with employees out in the field. How we do that, we have native mobile applications. iOS and Android. We've also got a Windows version. We've got the same, it's a native application, so it works offline. So if you're in a part of the country where you don't have great signal all the time, it works no matter what the conditions are. So with that, that's a little bit of information about MSI. Next, we're going to hear from Scott Hegrenus, who's going to talk about Viewpoint and a little bit about their company.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, Scott Hegrenus here, product manager here at Viewpoint. Really focusing, my focus is really around the service management space. Viewpoint is a construction accounting ERP, integrated ERP system, where we focus on all of the accounting aspects of the construction companies, but we also have the operation side of your businesses as well, with construction and job costs for large projects, managing project management side of that, and the job cost side of that, but also for all that small job work that you might do in and around service work, or just small jobs in and around work order management. We know those are both different sides of your business, where large construction projects are very project managed, and the billing cycle is stretched out over a long time frame. Service work and small job work orders are really quite different, where you have a lot of small jobs that you're doing, and they're often done before you know if you've made any money. And how do you manage cash flow when it's important to bill immediately? So we know that we knew we needed two different tools to handle those operational sides of your business. And so at Viewpoint, we offer both construction tools as for managing large construction projects in and around that traditional job costing, estimating, project management, and then also for service management, we offer a full work order processing system with a service agreements piece for managing those renewing agreements, dispatching for scheduling that work, making sure you get the right people out to the site on time and getting that work done on time. And then, of course, field management, and that's where MSI comes in, partnering with leading technology field work order processing systems, really to help promote cash flow and getting those work orders done on time, accurately, and billed immediately is one of the main reasons why we felt it was important to deliver a mobile service tool that integrated tightly with our back office operations pieces. So, we deliver our software in multiple ways on-premise, and we support cloud deployment as well. And then, of course, we focus on native mobile applications for deployment of mobile tools in the field. So when we look at our customers in and around the specialty space, we deal with a myriad of, within our customer base today, a number of electrical contractors, mechanical, HVAC contractors, fire protection, roofing, just to name a few, that perform service work. But, it goes way beyond that with oil and gas, utility contractors, even self-performing GCs, where small job work is very critical, even though it's not purely service related. So we see this as a major part of what our customers do. We're very focused on delivering the right tool for the work, the type of work that our customers are performing.
So we've got a poll now. Just curious as far as for those in the field, what type of service work do you perform? When you're out performing service work, kind of where do you perform it? Is it commercial, industrial, medical, it's government, higher education, et cetera? We meant to have an other option on here, but unfortunately we don't. So maybe you do other types of work, maybe you do solar or things like that. Yeah, feel free to spend some time, pick an answer, and in a few seconds here we'll take a look at the results. All right, so you should be able to see the results on your screen, or maybe on my screen. Looks like about 57% commercial. That's great. That's I think in line with expectations in our customer base. 15% industrial, 2% medical, 1% government, 0% higher education, 25% no answers. So maybe if we'd had the other, we would have gotten some more answers there. But so largely commercial, some industrial, a little bit of the other, the next two. So thank you for that. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys too. It's certainly helpful for us. We've talked about a little bit about our companies, and kind of what we're here to talk about today is inefficiency and controlling chaos. So first we want to start off by talking about in our conversations and in our world and in our interactions with electrical contractors, where we see common sources of inefficiency. And maybe you see some of these, maybe some of these ring some alarms in your own head of, oh, I'm dealing with that kind of a thing. Maybe not all of them, hopefully not all of them, but we're going to talk about the problems, and then we'll talk about the solutions a little bit later on. So first, some of the problems that we see in working with our customers and our prospects and things that we're doing in terms of solving with our software solutions. First, what we call data silos. So our experience is that, some customers or prospects don't have software that does everything, or they don't have a place for everything in their software. We work with a number of customers that will end up putting things in Excel, or they don't have a dispatching system, so they use Outlook. I was with a customer a few weeks ago, and they had the same data going into 3 different systems because they weren't sure that everybody could see it. So they were trying to solve that data silo problem because not everyone had access to the same information by putting data everywhere, and that was eating up time. So this can manifest itself a few different ways, but it's basically, you don't have one system that's totally connected to everything. Everything's separate systems. There's data over here, there's data over there, data in this Excel spreadsheet. And it's hard for people to know what's going on and have an accurate view across the organization as to where things sit with projects or invoicing or things like that. Kind of along those lines, if you can't see all that data, or you can't see the right data at the right time, you might not see something until it's too late. So that's the blind spot. I have a prospect who's now a customer of ours that before using our software didn't really have any good way of double checking where people are or where people said they were when they were doing work, and there wasn't a lot of accountability. And so they had an unfortunate scenario of they had a large project going on for weeks, and the technician was turning in a time card. Turns out they weren't actually there. They weren't actually doing any work. And so the customer called them and said, hey, when are you guys going to get started? And that was a big surprise and, again, an unfortunate situation. But, if you've got mobile tools, if you're tracking and seeing where technicians are and, they're punching in and that kind of a thing, you can have some more accountability there and some tools to help your organization. The return trip, I'm sure is something we're all familiar with. Certainly not a pleasant situation when things don't get fixed the first time. Maybe you've had something of your own that you've had to have a contractor come fix, or maybe you've taken your car in and it wasn't fixed right the first time. And so the more information that we can share across, the field and the office, share what's been done, share what previous fixes look like, we can get closer to eliminating that return trip. Slow billing is one that the first time I heard it, I was a little surprised. But I hear this over and over that contractors, customers actually want to pay on time. They want a speedy bill because they want their books to be right, and they don't want the process to drag out any longer than it has to. And so they want to be invoiced quickly so they know what the costs are going to be, and they know that they can account for those. And of course, all of you want to get the invoice out the door and get paid more quickly so that you've got that cash coming in. And the longer it takes to get the bill out the door, the more likely that there might be some disputes over what was actually done. So getting that bill out the door, again, these are some of the sources of inefficiency. Here's a few more. long ETA windows. I've got somebody I had a conversation with last week, and they said customers call in and say, when can you come out and see me? And they honestly say that they don't know. Because of some of these other issues, things like data silos, they can't easily see what the schedule is, what the status of work orders are. They certainly don't want to promise something they can't hit. And so they say, you know, we might be able to get out to see you next week or in a few weeks. And that's not a great idea when you're running a service business. You obviously want to be able to see exactly when and how soon you can get to somebody. As far as unproductive time, I think there's a lot of different ways that companies make it harder than it needs to be in order to, you know, get service work done and get the right reporting in place. And so whether it's in the office or in the field, I think the field is probably where it hurts the most. If you're paying your technicians to be on site and they don't have all the tools they need, or your electricians to be on site and they don't have all the tools that they need, and they're being unproductive, you know, that can be inefficient. We've got one deal we're in where they don't have a dispatching system, and so every work order for every one of their field workers, somebody calls in, the field worker calls the dispatcher to let them know they've started the work, and then calls at the end and let them know that they finished the work. And of course that's inefficient, because if you've got, let's say, 10 technicians for every dispatcher, you know, that's 20 phone calls if you've got one work order per technician per day, and obviously double that if you've got 2 work orders per technician per day, and that's taking away time from the dispatcher to be able to talk to customers and answer customer questions and things like that. So that's, you know, inefficiency right there. Duplicate data entry, that's kind of related to data silos. Again, if I don't have integrated systems, then, you know, I've got to, you know, key things in twice. So, you know, it may be your technicians write something on paper, it comes into the office, and somebody has to key it in. That's inefficient in terms of, you know, somebody already wrote the data down, so, you know, if we're going to enter the data, let's enter it once rather than twice. And it might be, you know, another source of mistakes or errors to take place. In terms of somebody not being able to read somebody's handwriting or something like that. So speeding things up, getting rid of that duplicate data entry can be very helpful. And then finally, just overall customer experience. You know, if you can't tell me when you're going to come out and be able to do the service, if you're unproductive when you are on site, if it takes forever to get the bill because you've got duplicate data entry and then you've got to come back because the fix didn't work the first time, it's not going to be a pleasant experience for your customers, and certainly you don't want that. We don't want that. So let's try to fix all these issues and solve as many of these things as we can. And again, we'll be talking about that very shortly here. So before we do, now that we've understood some of the problems that we're solving, let's talk about kind of why these problems exist. The biggest reason, of course, is paper in the field. Now, maybe you've got an electronic solution today and you don't have all these, but paper is certainly what we're seeing. Viewpoint did a technology survey last year, and they found that the majority of respondents to this technology survey, service companies, 52% of them were still doing work orders or daily field reports in written form. So the majority of people still using paper today. Probably not totally surprising. You know, there are some people using spreadsheets or a cloud application or a web form, but you can see those numbers are pretty small in comparison into paper. And you know, it's not just us saying paper's a problem. In this survey, you see, again, 50% of people said that paper is the most difficult type of content to manage. You know, email, Microsoft Office, scanned documents, job site photographs, accounts payable documents, those are other examples, but by far paper is the most difficult to manage. I'm sure you can guess the reasons there. So another poll question here, you know, for all of you on today's webinar, what method or methods of field reporting do you use today? You know, maybe you've got different types of work and you know, you're using a combination of these, but primarily is it paper? Are you using spreadsheets? Are you using a web form or a web page? Are you using a mobile app? Or here we do have the other options. So we'll give this about 15 more seconds. So go ahead and respond, and then we'll take a look at the results. All right, Scott, are you able to see the poll results here? So I don't know if Scott can see the poll results on his screen, but or again, I don't know. Okay, so go ahead and
49 out of 89 said written report or paper. So the rest were pretty small. So the large portion is definitely written report or paper.
Right. So that kind of matches up with the survey in terms of I think ours was the survey was 52% and this one's 55%. So pretty in line there as far as who's using paper today.
Okay, thanks, Ray. As the study that we did at Viewpoint also revealed some more information that was pretty interesting as well. And we found that a large portion of our customers and the people that we talked to were giving handhelds or mobile devices of sorts, phones, laptops, tablets, to their employees in the field. So there's a wide amount of our customers that were actually enabling folks in the field to have mobile devices. However, we also saw that a work order processing was also in the top 5 areas of use for our customer base in and around mobile. So definitely service work orders ranks in the top area of where our customers are actually making use of these tools. And many of those that responded on that 68% that were actually providing mobile devices to the folks in the field, sometimes they didn't even have tools on there they were taking advantage of. They just have the device. So they're seeing value in providing that device to the folks in the field. And service work order processing is an area where customers want to be able to use these devices. One of the things also that we saw is, there was a little bit of a barrier at times to use mobile technology. Even though they were buying the devices and staffing them, putting them into the hands of their folks in the field, they really weren't adopting either the devices or at times the software to get those devices to be useful for a lot of reasons. And one of them is they just haven't found the right software to make it worth it. Certainly cost is up there high on the list. Users' ability to use the technology, I think that's going down. The trend is seeing that going down as more younger folks come into the trade, who are more used to the mobile technology. That number will go down quite a bit. But finding the right tool, the right software to work on the device is a big reason why our customers haven't. Many of them haven't yet found the right tool to do what they want to do on those devices in the field. So interesting.
So we've talked about some sources of inefficiency or some problems. We've talked about some research that Viewpoint has done on kind of why those problems exist and what are some reasons behind all that, and that actually matches up with some of the data you guys gave us on the poll just now, so that's good. So now let's talk about proven methods for solving these service management problems. So when when we think about the world of service, we kind of divide it up into these key areas. And we're going to be talking about how having software solutions for that are integrated across all these areas help solve these problems. So back office, dispatch, mobile, and reporting, these are kind of the key areas that, high level, of course, that we see in the world of service management and service management software. And so, back office is essentially the office components and creating work orders and managing agreements and, tracking parts and inventory and payroll and all that good stuff, things that take place in the office. We break out dispatching, typically that is something that occurs in the office, but we break it out as a separate function because just because you have a payroll system doesn't mean and a work order system doesn't mean you have a decent dispatch or scheduling system. So we do break that out separately. Mobile, of course, for the field. So once a work order is created in the office, gets dispatched by the dispatcher, hopefully that goes out to the field. Everything's captured electronically on the mobile device, and then we can report on it all. And being able to, see reporting and metrics is going to help us solve some of those problems for sure. And so that's kind of what we did next is we took all these things and we overlaid them on the key things that they help solve. So as far as data silos, return trip, and slow billing goes, those are, I think, chiefly, back office capabilities in terms of, having everything in one system that everyone in the office can access, having that service history, built up in that system and pushed out to the field. So is the return trip. And, of course, invoicing, slow billing, that kind of a thing is typically done in the office. As far as dispatching, long ETA windows, unproductive time, dispatching certainly helps with those, being able to see what your availability is, being able to tell technicians where they can go, being able to drag and drop things and reschedule and send the right technician accordingly. Again, some of these have multiple things aligned with them, so the blind spot, of course, if you've got paper, that makes you blind a little bit for a little while versus if you've got a real-time connection to the field through a mobile app, that gives you a little more visibility into what's going on. Mobile and integration certainly eliminates duplicate data entry, certainly helps with customer experience. If you've got two different contractors, one's got iPads and is entering a lot of information electronically and getting you the invoice and everything, a lot quicker versus paper, that can be a key difference. Return trip and slow billing, of course, mobile plays a key role there. And reporting really plays a key role in all of these things. Certainly, data silos, the blind spot, all of these things, reporting is going to play a factor in, so it kind of stretches across everything. And so that's kind of high level, our framework for how we think these software solutions solve these problems. And we're going to talk about a couple examples of, best practices here. So now that we've kind of identified where these areas are being solved, let's talk about the round trip example that we're going to go through here in a minute. So we're going to do a demo. We're going to start in the back office. We're going to, somebody's going to call in. We'll create a work order. We'll schedule that work order, assign it to a technician. That technician will complete it on their mobile device, get all that data back to the office. Somebody can review it, generate the invoice right there, and get it sent out to the customer. So how does this help? Well, you can see, it might be hard to read, but up here at the top, you can see the benefits of each of these. We get more efficient in the office. We increase response time. We get more detailed tracking. We can bill for all types of service. Everything's all available across everybody in one system. We don't have, separate systems for different things. Scheduling, we've got a constant real-time view of what's going on. We can improve our first-time fix rate, reduce travel time, increase utilization rates. Mobile, certainly getting paid faster, increasing that ratio of technicians to dispatchers or field workers to office staff. More informed technicians with history, access to, parts information, parts manuals, eliminating the need for duplicate or even triplicate data entry, reporting, being able to see how things are performing, being able to see how productive everyone is, having better, compliance, hitting your ETA windows, and then, of course, profitability. Knowing what types of work are profitable, what types aren't, can be very key to your service business. Finally, there's one more piece of data we wanted to share. We know that when we talk to companies and ask them, when they're looking at technology, what's important to them, you can see here in this first graph, ease of use and integration are number 1 and number 2, the top 2 most important things. So hopefully you see in the demo how easy this is to use, and you'll see how integrated the MSI solution is to Viewpoint. As far as working offline and workflow, those are other things in terms of selection criteria. Ability to integrate, this is, I think, just a different survey. Ability to integrate, ability to work untethered or without connectivity. Still, a lot of people don't have a great connection 100% of the time today. And then, the ability to do workflow end-to-end of all these things. So we've got one more poll question, and then we'll have just a handful more slides, and we'll get into the demo. So again, kind of along the same lines, we're sharing with you our data and our experience, but for all of you on today's webinar, what would you say is the top most important criteria for buying software? Is it ease of use? Is it integration? Is it the feature set? Is it a mobile app working disconnected? Or is it all of the above? All right, so thanks to everyone that answered the question. We'll be able to see the results here in just a minute. So I guess the good news is that most people responded all of the above. So 51%, majority of people said all of the above. Next was ease of use. Finally, and then 10% features do what I need, and 8% said integration. So it's always good to hear that we're talking about the right things and they match up with things that you believe and want to see too. So just a couple more slides, and then we'll go ahead and show the software. So Scott, you want to walk through these two?
Yeah, thanks, Ray. So at Viewpoint, there's this really, when we look at service management, and Ray touched on it earlier, is really there's three key areas to making sure you can move work orders through the system, and it's really having a solid back office piece in place that allows you to set up your customers, your sites, your pricing relationships, set up all your contracts, and make sure that you can move work orders through your system efficiently, have them priced correctly, and not have to spend a whole lot of time and a lot of guesswork in that area, so that you can just get the work out to the technicians, get the work done, and getting that work out is that dispatch element, right? Make sure the right technician is getting a hold of that work and getting out to the site based on priority of work, so that the right work is getting done in the right order, and that it's getting done efficiently, where mobile comes in. Get that technician the right tool in the field to have access to all the information they need to get that work done. Where am I going? What's the nature of the problem? Who was here last? And is there anything I should know about what they did? Are these particular customers, do they have special rules and about access to the building or things that I may need to know about? Let me capture what I did to fix the problem. quickly, enter my time, materials used, take a signature, and get on to the next job. The key there is spend a little time on a tablet capturing what I did as possible so that I can spend my time in the field fixing things and adding real value to the business. And so, where we partner with MSI and where we feel that strong integration and that strong partnership is important is in and around hooking up the back office and the dispatch, which Viewpoint provides, to that really simple, easy to use, highly integrated mobile piece for the techs in the field so that you get that quick turnaround of what that technician did in the field back into the back office, get the bill out the door, and try to promote all the things that Ray was talking about earlier in the presentation. So Ray's going to here in a couple, pretty much here, probably the next slide, jump in and start giving you guys a demo. So just to repeat what Ray said, we'll walk through taking a service work order, scheduling that work order to a technician. We'll do that within Service Pro, complete the work order out there on the mobile device, and then get that back into Viewpoint and invoice that work order. We'll walk through that process and show how easy that is to do.
That's exactly right. So the moment that you've probably all been waiting for here, we'll go ahead and jump into Viewpoint. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a new work order. And this is work order 783 here. And we're going to say that we're going to go fix the transformer at Oregon State University, the West Dining Hall. So somebody from Oregon State called in. They said there's a transformer just right next to their building, and they need us to come out and look at it. The caller's name in this case was James Kennedy, or the site contact. Even maybe he didn't call, but that's who we need to check in with when we get there. So the James Kennedy's the site contact. Just take a mental note because that'll come into play a little bit later. And then at this point, we could go ahead and dispatch it out. You can see we've got a short description and then customer, and we've got a work order number, and we could dispatch this. I am going to fill in a little more information here. I'm going to come in and say, we're going to troubleshoot a power failure here. If we wanted to, we could actually track the transformer and the particular asset that we're servicing. Again, these are all optional things. We're talking about a break-fix call. I can assign tasks to this break-fix call. Maybe I'm just going to do a quick power inspection. I could also do a PM scenario. And in a PM scenario, I might generate this from an agreement and have tasks automatically come in here and see all those tasks listed here. And I could break those tasks out by equipment, that kind of a thing. So I can add tasks. I could add attachments. So I'm going to add a manual. Now this is an air handler manual. Don't tell anybody, but I didn't find a good transformer manual. I'll make sure and do that the next time that we go through this. But at this point, I've got some attachments. I've got some things in here. I've got a task. I've got this work order all set up. And then I'm going to pull up my dispatch board. And when I do that, I'll be able to figure out who's the right technician to send, who's available, and who's in this particular region. So I'm going to pull up my West Region dispatch board since we're working in Oregon, and I'm going to look at my list of unassigned work orders. Here's this work order 783. We're going to go ahead and fix the transformer. I'm going to just drag and drop that out to the technician named Ray Thomas, and we'll go ahead and that'll actually dispatch Ray, and so he'll get an alert on his mobile device. And I'll pull up my iPad in just a minute and show you that. This is our dispatch board. Normally we'd have a bunch of work orders on here. Again, this is all, drag and drop, so we can see, some work orders might be on here and they might be scheduled all day or at the end of the day or that kind of a thing. And so this is really easy to use, but we've got this work order 783 out for Ray, and here is Ray's iPad out in the field, and you can see here's this work order 783 for Oregon State University, and we'll tap on it, and we will be able to see in just a minute here. There's a slight delay in the WebEx, I apologize. But the iPad is just not cooperating with WebEx right now. So let's get this fixed here. Apologies for the delay. So we are showing this on an iPad. It could also be a phone or an Android tablet. Let's try this now. Hopefully you can see the work order 783, and you can see some information here. The first thing I might do is tap on the address up here, and that's going to pull up the map, and I can see where Oregon State is, and I can get turn-by-turn driving directions. And I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin today, and so from my office all the way out to Oregon State's a little bit of a drive, but fast forward a day and 7 hours and we'll be there. And I might change my status to in progress, and that's going to actually update my dispatch board. And so if the dispatcher's sitting in the office and they are, looking at their dispatch board, they'll be able to see that I've set my status to in progress. And so here's my dispatch board, and you can see this has changed to the color green, and it's in progress. So again, eliminating that blind spot, increasing visibility into what's going on in the field. I know everybody's where they should be. They're on time. We can see things like the access code is 9243. We can see that we're out here to fix the transformer. And then we can do a few different things to this work order. The system's very configurable. Things can be turned on and off, so you can hide and show things if you don't need to do all of this. I can see here's James Kennedy. He's my contact. I could tap on his phone number, give him a call, let him know I'm out here. I can see the task that I've got to complete. So I'll go ahead and say that I inspected the power, and it puts a little check mark by that. Again, if we're tracking the actual piece of equipment we're repairing, I can see that. So here's this transformer. It's a Waukesha transformer, and I can see all kinds of different information here. I can come in here and log my labor, and maybe you're using paper and you just write 2 hours of labor. You can do it that way in our system. So I can come here, I can put 2 hours, and then that's going to put a labor record of my time right here. You could also punch in and punch out. So we've got this nifty punch clock feature. I can come in here and say, maybe I have a crew with me also. So maybe Andrew and Dan are both with me, or maybe I've got Scott with me too. So Scott's helping us out today, and I want to make sure and clock all of us in. So we all get out of the truck, or I could clock in for drive time as well. But now we're clocked in and the timer's ticking up there. And I've got my transformer, and maybe we needed to use a lift to get up to the transformer. So I can search through all my equipment. I can bill for the use of this man lift. Maybe we used it for 2 hours. Maybe it's equipment we own, and this is going to update the maintenance records to let them know that we used it for 2 hours. We need to do scheduled maintenance, or maybe it's equipment that we rented, and that's going to affect the price and the cost. We can search through materials. We can search through truck stock or warehouse stock. Maybe we replaced some wire. We can search through here, and so you see I can search through, and I've got all my different things that have wire. So maybe we use this part and that part, and I can tap multiple parts, and now they're all on here. And then I might add miscellaneous things like a trip charge or a truck charge or something like that. Again, I can just type and filter, and you can see even faster than I could write out my whole parts. I've added my labor, I've added my lift, I've added materials, I've added our miscellaneous items. We've got our punch clock going. We've been going 1.5 minutes. I could go ahead and stop this. We can do some rounding. I'll go ahead and say we all worked a couple more hours here. And at this point, I could be done. I could jump to my summary screen. I could show the customer, here's everything we did. Here's our trip charge. Here's all of our labor. Here's our materials. Here's our lift. They could, type their name and sign it. I will show a couple more things. One is, well, if I did have history for this transformer, I could see that on the History tab. If I tap on Attachments, there's our air handler manual. Again, this could be the transformer manual or something like that, but could be, schematic or wiring diagram. We can open it in our favorite PDF reader, and we can just, look at this. But this saves some paper out in the field, that kind of a thing. So we've got our attachments. Maybe I go to a supply house and purchase some materials. Maybe I had to go out and I had to go to Gray Bar, and maybe I had to go buy a transistor. So I can tap and I can search through my parts list. Looks like I don't have any transistors in my parts list, so I'll just come in here and say we bought a transistor, and we actually needed 5 of them, and they cost $1 each. And so we can create a PO. Now this PO, looks like I forgot to put $1 in there. How about that? So this PO is going to be tied to this work order. I could come in here and I could enter line items, and maybe I just want to double check and make sure when the invoice comes back to the supply house, it matches what the electrician said they bought. Or maybe I just want to use this to get all the costs in there. Or I could leave it blank and have the invoice come back from the supply house and enter it through AP, but everything's all linked. Again, we don't have data silos, all the POs, everything's all tied together. And then I could also do an inspection. And so this is kind of, the idea here is this is just any kind of paper form that's outside of your traditional billing line items. So maybe whenever we work on a transformer, we want to capture some data about it. And, maybe we already know some of this information, so we don't need all these. But if we wanted to capture this stuff, we could. I could come in here and enter, all kinds of different values, text entry, numeric entry. We can say what things operate at in terms of temperatures and phases and that kind of a thing. So we can say impedance and frequency, and we've got multiple choice. I can say what configuration this is. We've got check boxes, so I can say whether or not this is working. I could come in here and say, what of these things are acceptable, corrected, needs repair, or not applicable. So I can say acceptable, 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 etc. I can come in here and say that thing needs repair. I've got required fields here, so these photos are both required. If I try to hit complete, it's going to tell me I haven't filled out the photo questions. I'll go ahead and take a picture of my little service van here. So there's our service van, and maybe we want to take a picture of the back of the service van also. Get the Service Pro logo in there. And, I can sign off that I did this inspection, so we can capture signatures, we can capture photos. I can use Siri to capture notes with my voice and say that the transformer was repaired satisfactorily. That can be pretty handy. I'll go ahead and complete this, and I'll go ahead and have my customer, James, come in here and sign off on this. So James is going to type his name, sign off that we actually did this work, and then I'll go ahead and complete this work order, and then we'll jump back into Viewpoint. Oh, I didn't complete the PO. Let's go ahead and do that. We got some more checks and balances in here. Go ahead and complete that. Go ahead and close out this trip for this work order, and then we can, go ahead and force a sync since this is a demo, and this will push all this information back into Viewpoint. So again, everything I did there could have been offline except for this last step, and then we'll go back into Viewpoint and take a look at how this information comes back. So we look at our dispatch board and just let it update here. We'll see that this work order is closed now. So here's this work order, 783. It's gray. It's in the completed trips bucket here. So we know the technician is done, and we could open this up and see all the different things. So the work order is going to have all those line items on it, all the labor, all the parts, all the purchase order items. We could see those. We could adjust those. So here under the Work Completed tab, we can see all those things. Again, if we needed to bill for some of these, maybe we need to adjust the billing for some of these. Maybe we're going to, not charge a customer because it took a little bit longer than it should. We can certainly do that. Looks like a couple of things are still coming in here. But the, we can see here's our labor, here's our parts, here's our trip charge. At the top is our equipment there. We've got our purchase order. We can see on the purchase order tab, there's our purchase order for gray bar. I could click this bill work order button. That'll go ahead and generate the invoice. So in about 15 minutes, I think we took maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes, we created a work order, dispatched out to the field, entered some line items, and went ahead and invoiced this work order. Looks like some of our material was maybe priced just a tiny bit high, but it's a demo. I think you get the idea. So generate the invoice. That could be automatically, emailed to the customer. The results of that inspection could be attached. I'll pull those up in just a minute. While we're waiting on those, we do have a few questions that came in through the Q&A. So I know we said we'd start Q&A a little bit sooner than this, so apologies for that. But there are a few questions in the Q&A tool. Again, continue to use the Q&A tool, we will try to get to as many questions as we can. So one of the questions from earlier in the presentation, will you be explaining how one gets from the initial call / dispatch to a work order to an invoice, pulling in hours and materials? Hopefully you guys in the webinar would say that we got through that. Scott, would you say that we got through all that?
Yeah, it looks like we did. Yep, good job.
Okay. Does it work with an accounting software? I think maybe that's a little more clear too, that this is a part of Viewpoint is accounting capabilities. It's a full construction ERP solution. That's certainly a benefit of going with Viewpoint. There's another question. Does the notification come from just drag and drop? If so, we wouldn't need Viewpoint Notify feature, correct? So it sounds like somebody's using Viewpoint today, and for those that aren't, there is a Viewpoint Notify feature. So when I drag this work order, I'll just start with a new one here. If I drag this work order out and I wanted to notify the tech, I could use this notify feature for Viewpoint. And that's one way of triggering an email and setting it to the notify status. With MSI, you can use this a couple different ways. You can do it where I did, where I drag it and drop it, and then it goes straight to the technician automatically. The place where that might not work is if you're looking at the next 2 weeks and maybe you're scheduling PM calls. And maybe I schedule this call for next Friday for Ray, but I don't want Ray to see it right now. There's a setting in our software that you can control to say, don't send this until I click notify. And then so maybe next Thursday, we'll click notify, and then Ray will see it on the mobile device. So hopefully that helps answer that question. Here's a few questions for you, Scott. Will this work for a small electrical service business? I guess the question might be, how do you define small?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at Viewpoint, we definitely serve contractors from, in the millions all the way up to the billions. So our software definitely fits and scales down and upward depending on the particular contractor's needs. So yeah, depending on how small we're talking about, that's definitely, we get into the $1 million contractor or below, Viewpoint probably not the best fit, but certainly in the millions, as far as annual revenue, we certainly have customers in that space.
Great, great. What about this one? Is material list updated with prices? I think you guys maybe have some partners for material pricing, or do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we certainly work with trade services and Callahan & Roche and companies like that do the industry pricing so that you can update our material database to store the typical pricing that you want to be able to track, and then our system allows you to build pricing arrangements with your customers. For example, we'll give you 10% discount off of trade services retail price or something along those lines. So our system definitely works from a standpoint of offering a discount off of an industry pricing structure, or a markup over some standard price, or even the actual cost, or multiple ways of defining how you want to price your materials out to your customers.
Great. Another question is related to timesheets. So we showed the punch clock. They said, does this export to a timesheet, time tracking for the service tech's weekly timesheet? So Viewpoint has integrated payroll, and when you enter labor hours into a work order, it can go to the timesheet or payroll. I am certainly not a payroll expert, but you see on my time card here for Tuesday, the 27th, I do have a couple hours related to this work order 783 of fixing the transformer. So so labor hours do go over to payroll in the time card. And
it goes through the normal timesheet review process. Yep.
Great, great. Question here, can you revise invoices? I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but I'm not an expert on how you might do that. Scott, do you want to take that one?
Sorry, one more time for me there,
yeah,
Ray?
The question was, can you revise invoices?
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things we wanted to make possible in our system as we built the system out was, again, promoting cash flow. I don't want to spend 30 minutes having to void an invoice and then go reflect all the work orders again and then rebill it. Any work order at any point, any invoice at any point can be edited within a matter of seconds. I can edit a single line, change the price, make it taxable, make it no charge, remove lines, add a line, and then just press a button and it'll automatically produce a new invoice for you to send out to your customer, either reusing the same invoice number or generating a new invoice, updating the work orders, and making that change take effect throughout the system. So again, one of the things we wanted to make critical for our system is to make it easy to make adjustments, because customers always say, well, you said I didn't need to pay for that, or hey, that's not the right price, and I don't want to spend a bunch of time making that change when I'm dealing with a $200 work order. So yeah, very easy to do.
Great, thanks. This question for us on the mobile side. What about tracking mileage, entering specific mileage to the site? So here I'm in a work order. We've got what we call miscellaneous costs. I can pick here and I can type in mileage, and you could have a line item here called mileage, or I could have fuel surcharge per mile, and then again I could just come in here and enter 25 miles, for example. And so this could be, however you wanted to word it or code it or that kind of a thing, or price it, but you can add line items for specific mileage. Let's see, there's some other questions related to other things around things like Viewpoint pricing. Scott, do you have go-to way for people to contact a Viewpoint sales rep? Just go to the website viewpoint.com and look for information there, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, just certainly you can get into a sales rep that way. Happy to answer any questions too. If they feel like they want to contact me directly, that's fine too. If you want to expose my contact information, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has around our pricing structure. In a nutshell, it's very flexible. Lots of flexibility around different pricing at the contract level, at the site level. And the focus there is on flexibility. But happy to talk to anybody.
Great, great. And we are just a couple minutes over, but I think that might be a great place to end it. I know we didn't get to every question. I apologize. There was a question asking if there'll be another webinar on the construction side of Viewpoint, so we'll certainly chat with everyone to see what we might be able to make happen there. But yeah, on the follow-up side, please visit each of our websites, viewpoint.com, msidata.com. Here is our respective contact information. So there's Scott's information, Scott, H-E at viewpoint.com, and his phone number. And here's my information, RAYT at msidata.com. Thank you for everyone. Again, appreciate all the time that you took out of your day to spend with us. Hopefully you found it beneficial and learned a thing or two. And feel free to shoot us an email with follow-up or more questions, or just saying thanks. We'd be happy to say you're welcome to you. So thanks, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.